Okay.
Hi, everybody. This is Martha Creek, marthacreek.com to contact me. Also, there's a YouTube channel. There's 150 or so videos. There's 150 or so podcasts and classes all the time. Also, other opportunities to serve together. So they're all offered for free. Please use them, preach them, teach them, lift them up, send them out, share them, because I have a vision to get empowered teachings to the whole of humanity, and I am clearly guided by a mission to serve those who serve, and to serve those who are serving. So I'm here today with this mentoring moment with Martha, with a dear friend, colleague, sister soul, Reverend Tracy Quillen, who is brand new ordained just this past year. She's been in a very conscientious, intentional, deliberate study of ordination of spiritual development since I've known her, which has only been 2 or 3 years, honey, has it been?
That's true. You
Yeah.
came bursting in the door as one of my mentoring teachers. Yes, absolutely.
So you're going to get to hear from her today. And as a reminder, these podcasts and videos are offered with me identifying people that have demonstrated to me living a life with purpose and living a life on purpose, a deliberate life. So I would sum it up by saying it's with people that are about something. And that's what I'm very into myself. So Reverend Tracy is now speaking in various Unity churches all around. She's also actively ready now and applying to be the leader, the senior minister leader for Thriving Unity or other New Thought Church. So, word up. So, see how you relate to her here. So, thank you for taking the time to do this, honey, and for
Thank
saying
you.
yes to this. So, as we were talked just before we launched into here, there's been some things you've been learning the last few years that's been critical, vital in your life experience. So I'd like to use that as our jumping off place today. Like, so just start in there with what I've learned, what I've been learning is, and what how it's changed your life.
One of the biggest things I think, Martha, that you brought to me, one of my biggest gifts to learn from you is this spectrum that is not contained with an either or scenario, that I can open and broaden my consciousness to include and and I come from a background of about 27 years in the finance world, and for some people that's very definitive, that the answer is this or this. And I want to laugh and giggle and say even the IRS will let you round up. But when I came from this world, a lot of it was protocol. A lot of it is very structured, and there are definitely rules to follow. And I remember you bold and bright and energetic coming into our class at UWSI, and you said, I'm coming here to help ministers create healthy boundaries. And you allowed us to play with you and bring scenarios, real life scenarios to you. And for me, I was going through a transition with my son, and it was very much on my heart space, and it was sort of a painful evolvement. I wanted him to flee the nest and to be in his whole person, and that I wouldn't feel any remorse or guilt or anything that came from behind where my past is. And I just remember you talking about this spectrum. And even as far as ministry, some people are going to love you, like really love you, and some people maybe not so much. And it's okay. It's okay. There's none of this, you have to be all things to all people. And hopefully I'm not no things to no people, but there's this broad spectrum, and it just allows me to have this field of infinite possibilities.
Yeah.
It's not such a container. It's an open field to explore the magic in possibilities.
Well, and it's some of my favorite words, honey. Infinity and infinite, and certainly possibility and potential. And I believe it's the people I love to hang out with, the people I want to have on these mentoring moments, the people that I'm going to spend my time with are people that are about something, and that they understand that what we've got to grow ourselves up. And growing ourselves up means accepting the full spectrum. So, for an example, I was helping somebody that was going to go 99 years old, that was going to go into a facility. And they had narrowed it down to the facility. So now it was just a matter of selecting the room. So I went in there and picked the room that I knew she was just going to do a happy dance over. That was in the back. It was all this beautiful view of the trees and quiet and serene. She went back there and saw that room and went, oh no, hell no. I don't want to be way back here. I want to be up front. I want to see the people. I want to see traffic. I need to see some activity. I need to see life. And I thought, there is a perfect example of I would have made that choice for her, believing I was giving her a gift.
Yeah.
And it's the opposite of what she wanted. And that's the spectrum of it. So
You know,
that
I love that example because I am now working with some of our elderly folks in my area, and a lot of them is memory care, right? So some of them still live in their own house, maybe with a partner, maybe not. But to your beautiful example right there was this woman about a week ago, and she wanted to get her hair cut, as many of us are trying to do. We've been home because of COVID, and she was getting ready to meet family members down in Florida, and she hadn't seen them in a while. And a son was coming from New York to take her. And I said, well, how about if we go to my beauty salon? They're doing all the right things, taking your temperature. They put your bag into a bigger bag so you don't have access to it. And she was very, very concerned about the spatial distance, right? So when we walk in there, to your beautiful example, they took her all the way down the aisle, the furthest away from everybody. She was going to be alone at the sink, and I could just see her exhale, just relax. So for me, that is, again, those infinite possibilities. It's my hairdresser, it's my experience. And I walked her through every step. And then when she walked in the door, I didn't know if they'd let me come in with her or not. And I had to open her mind, or at least invite her, that it would be okay whether I came in or not. And they could tell I was her caretaker, at least for the day. And they allowed me to sit right beside her. And as they cut these beautiful silver like strands from her, this shaping up around her face and in the back, I could just behold the beauty of who she is right now, right here. And I just saw her lift up. I saw her spirit lift up, that people were engaged with her. And at that moment, sharing their talent with her and expressing what they saw in her. And it was a beautiful moment. This is what I call my happy places.
well, it's real. It's absolutely so wholeheartedly wonderful to hear, honey. And it's such a good use of you. You've got such a big pastor's heart, and
Thank
it's
you.
few and far between. With these people claiming to be ministers, and it's not their calling to be a pastor. It's very, very different. So this pastor's heart that you have is showing there, honey. So it makes my pastor's heart jump up and spin around too. And to think about that, that could be the only church that woman ever goes to, could be the church of you. Charles Fillmore says that, you may be the only church anybody ever attends. So that time with you to pick her up, to get her over there. And anybody can relate, men or women can relate to what it's like to get a good haircut, and to unload some of that, and just to feel better about ourselves. So it's like you scored. It looks like, honey, you scored, that it was a win-win all the way around for her. And we wouldn't have known what was important to her. We
Right, right. Because she was very concerned from her experience previously that it wasn't going to be spatially connected like that. And then I'm serious that this beauty of this inside person was reflected on the outside as we acknowledged and saw who she is. And I mean that in not just a physical light. So when you talk to me about that pastoral heart, I've shared with you through my journey that I did the whole clinical hospital pastoral piece. And that open heart of a chaplain is not that I am bringing just unity teachings forward, but that I am where people are. What does she best understand? What is her practice? And this particular lady is Catholic, because I saw the beautiful picture of Mary and the heart on the door as you come in or exit her house. And we had these discussions that went to places that also healed what my ideas were previously because of my experience in my teenage years. And she is so open-minded. Just, I didn't know what she'd think about some unity concepts that we talked about. She talked about family relations and loving a gay son. That exploded my possibilities of thinking just because of my own experience at 15 in a Catholic school. So we can transcend whatever has been a previous experience. And I really think you helped me bring that to the table. You do it when we had our interviews, going through our L&O process to become ministers. And this breath of light, you would call me and say, how you doing? How you doing right now? Thank goodness that you were my download. You were my space of safety. And I want to create that in my ministry for people, that I am your space of safety, that you can really speak from your heart.
It really shows, honey, and that's been a good use of me. I tell you that I was able to do to serve ministers in the ministers training. That's for sure, and it's a fulfillment of my own desire for that. And I was thinking about this, honey, even in like being with what you were able to see in that woman, and I'm not missing the fact that it was way beyond a haircut and way beyond the physical change, that what happened to her spirit, to her light and the radiance, and that you made that possible. And I'm telling you, if there's no other reason for ministries to hire you other than the fact that you've got 27 solid years of success and a heart of a pastor, and your tank is full and stays full intentionally, you refill and revitalize and renew yourself on purpose. The fact that you've got an open mind, the fact that you can learn something, the fact that you can change your mind, that you're still open minded, that you can transcend a previous experience, as you say, is all the equation, all the factors of success in a win-win-win situation. So I delight, honey, at where you may land. And
Thank you. Can you imagine? Because we are today experiencing something that was discussed in our classrooms for 3 years about how the church is changing form. And all of a sudden, bam, we have this virus that has shifted everybody's life, whether you want to or not. And I know in my home church, I have some folks that don't want to go on the computer. So how do we serve them? And I love that my home ministers open it up around the labyrinth at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm speaking to a church in Florida now. We're having that discussion. What does January 2021 look like? What does February 2021 look like? And this possibilities that are endless means, yes, we can be online. Yes, it can be something like a home ministry. Yes, it can be an outdoor ministry. And what is it that I'm called to do to serve them? Where can I, in my highest, serve their highest? And I want to explore what that looks like. And so I think when you and I talk, that it's not limited. It's not this structural paradigm that keeps you locked in to the way it's always been and the way we've always experienced it, but to open that door and and yesterday in my talk, in my service, it went all kinds of directions as spirit leads me to go. This piece came out about, I can put a blue light in my window and honor the officers that are doing their very best, and I can wear a t-shirt that says Black Lives Matter. I don't have to choose an either or, because there is value in both of these. And to hold that consciousness that we together can do this. And I believe that. I really believe that. I think it shows up in my talks. I know it does. And it shows up when I'm meeting and greeting people.
well, and that and which you spoke about, honey, let's go a little further into that, because this
Yes.
has implications with, yes, we'll have meet in person eventually, of course. And we can't go, there's no going back to what we left. So we're going to meet in person and meet online and meet at a labyrinth and meet on Saturday morning and go out in homes. And this, so this and is going to be critical now more than ever before, I believe. And it's caused us to use a crowbar that caused some of the mind to open that wouldn't have been open before. And it's also going to meet, certainly now, in the time that we're in, that regardless of what happens in this year or when we open or how or who wins the election or anything else, there's going to be some and that's going to have to apply there. Yes, it didn't go my way. And how am I going to be with not getting my way? And yes, how can I honor where they are and not dishonor where I stand on something. So there's room for where they stand, and there's room for where I stand. So this is profound. You've experienced it as that. I see that, and I think it has infinite implications, literally across the boards of our life. And I don't know how people. I don't know how people are going to do it with any ease and grace and sanity, sobriety, clarity, things that we generally prefer if this and is not activated. So tell me about um, the speaking you're doing, how you're motivated by that, what you're bringing forth, what message you want to have out in the world, how you're learning, and what you want to teach from that learning.
So something else that you guided me on, and it was just a light conversation, but you and I both know as we open our minds, as we speak our truth, that goes into the world manifested. And you may recall you said to me, well, you enjoy speaking, right? That's one of the things you really like. And I said, yeah. And I've had this experience now on stage, and I had to get some training to build my confidence to go on stage. And I did some of that through Toastmasters. And then there's a private coach that I've worked with, as well as homiletics in school. But then you said, well, what would it feel like? What would it feel like if you opened up to people across the unity movement, and not limited to that, because we know the Science of Mind is our sister cousin church, and that could happen there as well. And so I was just playing with the idea, and I got a phone call from a student I hadn't talked to in 2 years, still on the path to become a minister. And he said, what do you think about South Texas? And I said, what do you want me to think about South Texas? He said, I'm working with 3 small churches down here, and we'd love to hear you speak. I'm in charge of scheduling the speakers. And I said, okay, I've got a web page, Quillen Ministries, qministries.net. Go to that, see what you think about how I talk. He called back. He goes, love it. Shared it with the entire board from this church. I said, really? He said, yeah, we want you to talk. I said, okay. So I talked to the board chair. I think board president is what they call it at that church. We had a delicious discussion, went many different directions. And I love when people feel safe with me and they can open up to something they don't tell everybody else. And this happened in this experience. And then she said, you've got this Sunday. Bada boom, baby. So there's about 3 little churches in this area. Another one I'm scheduled in October to speak, and they are choosing online formats. Like you said, you've got different time zones. You can speak 3 times on a Sunday. So far, I'm just doing it once, but I'm open to the idea, and it's been fun. And the Zoom format, as I begin to get used to being online, what does that feel like? And I get to see everybody's little pictures, and I love to go online 20 minutes in advance so I can hear what's up for them. And maybe I'm going to bring it in the talk, because I do quite a bit of putting my talk together with a real whatever it is that's coming up through my heart, because you're supposed to give them a title and all that good stuff. But let me tell you, Spirit jumps right in and it says, this is where we're going. And I just love, because I can see their feedback. I can tell if you're tuned in, even online, or if you're starting to flounder. And if you're floundering, I need to bring you back in and bring something else that's coming up. So this Sunday, it wasn't online, it was face to face. And that's when I said, I realized I haven't done that since January. So to pay attention, they're doing both online and physical. And when I'm in a physical location, I'm looking at the people.
Mm-hmm.
When we're online, we have to remember to look up so the camera can talk to you and you to the camera. So it's a learning atmosphere, and it's one I'm still learning. We might have to put a funny little picture up at the camera to take my eyes back up again.
That's what some of the others said. They did a green dot or something that draws their eyes up there. And so far, I haven't done it because I'm still looking usually in the eyes of somebody. So that is a great example though of you. There's so many people talking about I want, but they won't do anything about it. And you know where I stand on it. It's like I'm all about your dreams and you working through something or growing through something or whatever, and be about something. But I'm not going to listen to your wanting all day, and then every time we talk, you've not done one damn thing toward anything that you wanted. So you'll have to take that somewhere else. It's not me.
Well, I have beautiful prosperity teachings in my background. And
Yeah.
prosperity, we know, is not just about the financial. If you want something, we go into that place of our imagination and we visualize it and then speak the words. The spoken word has power. And I talk a lot about this sort of a thing because to me, it resonates with my goal orientation. I'm a doer. I know they say in Unity, be the light. I do the light. I am that motivational speaker. I'm that inspirational speaker. I'm that where you feel the energy in the presence of. And I know there's a time to be, maybe my next life. This one's busy. This one has things to do, people to see, places to go. And so I'm really grateful to speak those words out loud and watch as the opportunities manifest, and then I create what's going to happen in that arena. And now these little churches in South Texas have said, have you thought about doing some board training? Have
Yes.
you thought about doing some pastoral spiritual care? And some people have reached out to me in the Florida area and said, can you hold sacred space for me towards counseling? I said, of course I can. I
Yes.
mean, that training is beyond 3 years of training.
Mhm.
That training comes from sitting even at a bank desk, listening to people's dreams. And I had two specific instances where grown men came in my office and shared from their heart and they cried. And I remember the branch manager walking by and she went, oh my God, you make men cry. I said, I don't make men do anything. I just open that space to talk from their hearts. And I
Yeah.
believe in that. That's what I want to create in my ministry
Well,
is
it's good, honey, and that's
that.
also positive. It's generative because these three little ministries, there's nothing little about it. And the way that we serve, that you'll end up doing talks for them. You already have training, teaching, counseling, coaching, pastoring them without ever setting a foot in Texas. Maybe, like, who knows, how that's going to go. But this is the world that we live in here now, that this is the kind of possibility that's there. And for you to be intentional about that, like, I am available. And even to hear this, because we've teased that, because like I can do 2 Sundays a month. Two services a Sunday.
Right.
And I used to pray for bilocation, that there could be two, I could be in two places at once. And it's like now I'm in two places at once. Then I'm up now to 4 church services on a Sunday without even trying, because I said yes to 2. And then I started getting emails from people telling me how much they enjoyed the service this morning, and they were from different ministries. Then I found out somebody had used an interview like this that I did with him for the Sunday service. So then they were getting feedback about that. And then somebody else had done a recorded talk of me. So then quad locating at once with,
What do they say about us in multi dimensions? Honey, you're already in there. You're already doing it 3 times, 4 times.
yes, just like that. So I believe this and how else and where else. And the day that I got called to sit down and record 2 or 3 talks that day, and the next day to do 2 or 3 more, and the next day, and I set my fanny down and did them, and then offered them out to the world. If you need a talk, or here's a library from them, and people started using them. So I never knew what would become of that, but I knew that I did my part, which is step one as far as I'm concerned. Idea, here's the idea, the prompting, the impulse, join with it, do my part, and then surrender to whatever the outcomes are. And I take some heat from all this doing too, honey, the doing, doing, doing. And Martha, Martha, thou art busy with many things. And how many times I've heard that scripture. And I believe Martha takes a lot of heat from this comparison to Mary. But I can tell you, without some Marthas around, somebody would be in there wanting some supper before it's over. So without us doers, there's not going to be all that many happy campers on the scene. Eventually, you can sit around and meditate all day, but then you'll eventually be trying to dig a sandwich out of somewhere. So we're not going to get through this life without some doing. So I know for me in my own life, honey, it's been about some balance in that.
Yeah,
And
that'll be my next lesson with you is balance. And me getting that teaching from you will be a little bit humorous for both of us because I do understand, and I am typically that kind of person that multitasking is very comfortable for me. And as I'm getting a little bit older, maybe I don't have to multitask so much. But even when I go on vacation, it's usually a foreign spot that I want to learn about. And then I got to come home and sleep for 2 days.
well, and I believe our some of our mastery in this, honey, for the types we are, the types you're describing, that's true for me also, is to just have less pressure on ourselves about it.
Yeah.
Make it just fine. Like you may go on a vacation and not leave the house. Like you may just go sit at a pool all week. It's like, then fine, that's your heaven of a vacation. I don't want to, I may not want to do that. I may want to get out and go meet some of the local people or get to know something about the area or go hike or something like that. And both are fine. And both ways are fine ways. And both approaches are okay. And both preferences are okay. And as we continue to lean into that and to give room to that, to give space to that, we're going to have a happier life, honey, and easier life. And when we get bogged down in that or demanding it to be our way, then again and again and again, we're going to be tripped up in it. So
Yeah, I'll get those lessons sometimes too.
think about this. Somebody's hearing this little mentoring moment 2,000 years from now. That
We'll be in the archives by then.
it's had that kind of impact. What message would you want? What would you want it to be about? Like if there's a message, a summary, or like
So I think one of the biggest things for me, like what's coming through right now, the words are, you are enough. You are enough. I want to keep and create and facilitate those safe spaces that people come into their own and recognize they are already empowered. They are already whole. That this is a truth of who we are. And I believe that. And sometimes there's clutter on the outside and sometimes there's obstacles. But at the heart of the matter, we are already whole. And to be that unto ourselves. And you made a comment earlier, and this is for my own discernment, that sometimes I'm showing up how others want me to show up versus how I am truly, because I'm not you
right.
and you're not me, and we're not meant to be the same. And so the challenges that might come in either with a faith or how I express love or show up in partnership or however I do life, well, that's me. And how you are doing or showing up in life is you. And it's the and again. It's not right or wrong. It's who we are meant to be. And I want to show up authentically like that because that's where my power comes from. And I don't mean that as a power in war. I mean that as a power of being the illuminated being that I know how to be and still learning. Still learning. So when I'm preparing lessons and I'm 2 or 3 hours in the different Bibles and the Eastern text and the Aramaic and all the things I play in, and then boom, a piece of music hits me and I go into that space, that is my time with God, the God that I understand, that I'm centered in. And it's just as easy to go for that walk and stand under Mother Oak as I did yesterday and felt that connection to the earth. And I thought, wow. And when I brought that back into the sanctuary, the sacred space that we shared, it was like its own God magic.
Mm.
And people already related because they first have walked those grounds, but just that inner calm, which is where I would like to live from that place, is as exciting as my personality is, as big as it is, that place of balance, that I can go home to it and not be frazzled when I don't have the answers.
Yes, that's true, honey. And I remember working and working and working at this for decades, as high as I was, and high without substance. So it's a high that's out of enthusiasm, out of passion, out of desire, out of a heart of service, of wanting to become more, be more, do more, serve more. And I realized I can only be as high and effectively high as I am deep. So I've got to take extra time for root systems and for root care. And I've got propensities and tendencies to want to express, to be in spring all the time and create and bloom and produce and fruit and fruitful, and without the care of the root system and taking some time for quiet and balance and winter and reflection, contemplation, a walk, whatever it is, then I can't, it's not sustainable. So,
You know, I learned that when I was doing some work around the natural elements. We're talking about seasons, we're talking about, water, air, fire, spirit. And to go into that winter mode, instead of anyone maybe thinking about it as dark, a time of darkness, but the seeds germinate in that darkness. When we go into our earth space, when we feel our foundation, and maybe that is a time of quiet, because I can do magical things then. I can write my programs that I want to teach from. I write my different talks. I explore, what does Unity really think about the next life and reincarnation, and where did the Fillmores start and where did the Fillmores end, and how much is Buddhism really a part of us, and how much do I really, the Jewish text and how that calls to me, and how sound calls to me, and all the things I want to explore. That happens in my winter. That happens in my darkness.
yeah, which is a great fertile soil.
Yes.
Great, great, great fertile
And to
soil.
be nurtured, because I still want my Martha Creeks out there and my different mentors that come and water me once in a while and say, how you doing? How you doing? Let me rise with you.
Well, it's a privilege for me, honey. I can tell you that. So thank you again for taking this time, for sitting down, for renewing yourself, for following your calling, and for the fulfillment of that calling.
I love that. Endless possibilities. Endless possibilities. How do we want to show up tomorrow and February 1st and March 1st? That's where I am.
Well, start some of those conversations with these churches.
Yes.
It holds a great seed of creation, a great seed of causation, I believe. And now's the time for those conversations, and for their own renewal, because there's without some of that, there's going to be a weariness um, about not knowing, needing the answers, can't see it, and all that. So any of this pot stirring, magic wand waving around here is going to be a fertile, I think, to get some conversations like this going.
I
So
agree.
become the expert on what the next iteration of ministry is and the next iteration of church is. So put on here how people can contact you, honey, the website address, go slow, give them a chance to not make a note of it, or your email, ever how you want them to contact you.
All right, so I'm easy to be found if you want to do Tracy Quillen Unity. If you're doing a Google search, if you do Quillen Ministries, if you want to do qministries.net, all of that finds me. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to have an opportunity to speak with you, your church family. At some point, I love us all to be at the village, walking the grounds, by the fountains, and till then, I'm sharing from the heart space. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity, Martha.
You're very welcome, honey. So, all of you, Godspeed in whatever you do. Remember, you matter. Your thoughts matter. Your prayers matter. Your practices matter. Your attitude matters. And there is infinite potential for you in your own life and for what it is becoming. And marthacreek.com is the way to contact me. The phone, email, everything is there. So until we meet again, be blessed and know that you are loved. Bye for now. marthacreek.com if I can support you. Blessings.